Hi, my name is Simrat Gudot.
And I'm Isabella Galvin.
And I'm Suzette Madrigal.
I'm Alita Reyes.
And our project was creating a podcast or a slide. I guess in our case, it's a video slide. And our topic was suicide prevention awareness. So what would you like for people to know about suicide or mental health? Well, research has found that 46% of people who die by suicide had a known mental health condition. In the US, one out of every 5 adults suffer from a mental illness. Unfortunately, 60% of those people who are diagnosed with mental illness do not receive treatment. In the US, nearly 1 in every 25 people, 10 million, suffers from a significant mental disease. By the age of 14, half of all chronic mental illnesses have started, and 3/4 have started by the age of 24. So aside from the statistics, I want to share a quote from Howie Mandel. There isn't anybody out there who doesn't have a mental health issue, whether it's depression, anxiety, or how to cope with relationships. Having OCD is not an embarrassment anymore. For me, just know that there is help in your life could be better if you go out and seek the help. Why I wanted to share this quote is because he makes a very good point. Everyone at one point of their life struggles with their mental health, whether that's depression or anxiety or OCD. And I think it's extremely important that we talk about it. And I know it's hard to be vulnerable, but it's also important to understand that everybody goes through it and that when we talk about it, we're destigmatizing that issue. And maintaining good mental health is just as vital and important as maintaining good physical health. Our minds, ideas, and feelings require regular and intentional attention. Many internal elements, such as anxiety, fear, despair, and concern, as well as external influences such as illness, hardship, and loss, influence mental health.
How would you help someone who has shared that they are thinking about suicide? I think it's important to let them know that they are not alone and that you care about them. I think it's also important to show empathy and not judge them based on what they're saying to you. I'd also encourage them to keep talking and listen attentively to them. I'd encourage them to seek help also. I'd show that I support them and not pressure them into doing something they don't want to do. Respecting the boundaries is definitely important too, and acknowledging their feelings. I'd check up on them regularly and ask about their well-being. If they're in immediate danger, I would not leave their side and I'd get help from a trained professional.
How can we support our peers, friends, and family? If you're worried that someone may be thinking about suicide, talk to them. You can ask them how they're feeling and talk about their suicidal thoughts. Talking about it doesn't mean that they're more likely to end their life sooner. Let them know that you care about them and that they're not alone. Empathize with them. You could say something like, I can't imagine how painful this is for you, but I would like to try to understand. It's important not to be judgmental or to blame them. Ask them how they felt before this, if they have felt that way before. If so, ask how their feelings changed last time. Reassure them that they're not going to feel this way forever. Encourage them to think about their day, getting through their day instead of focusing on the future. Remember, you don't need to find an answer or even completely understand why they feel the way they do. Listening to what they have to say will at least let them know that you care for them and are there for them.
So, how has COVID affected the mental health of the community? There has been an increase of anxiety, depressive disorders, substance use, and also suicidal thoughts. Studies have shown that non-Hispanic, Black adults, and Hispanic or Latino adults are more likely to report symptoms of anxiety or depressive disorders than white adults. For everyone in the community, it has caused a fear of catching COVID. Also, humans are meant to socialize, and the social distancing measures and lockdowns have affected the community as it has caused an increased stress and anxiety. isolation, financial distress, and job loss. In a poll conducted by the Kaiser Foundation in the spring of 2020, nearly half of adults in the United States reported that their mental health has been negatively impacted due to worry and stress over the virus. Minorities have also been affected the most, as most are essential workers putting their lives at risk. Students have also been struggling during the pandemic, as many students would not pay attention or would not participate during Zoom classes, causing an increase of isolation within their studies.
What do you believe the factors are that are causing suicide? Factors that contribute to suicide are feeling hopeless, isolated, and alone.
Also including bullying, emotional or physical abuse, relationship problems, and mental illnesses like depression can also be factors.
Some other factors could be lack of coping methods for stressful situations in life.
Difficult events such as a traumatic childhood could also be a huge factor to why someone is suicidal.
Being completely hopeless and feeling as if they can't change things for the better could also be a factor.
How can culture influence how suicide is perceived or treated? How can we help destigmatize mental health while keeping all this in mind? Well, one way um, culture influences how suicide is perceived or treated is cultural stigma. Every culture has a different way of looking at mental health. Every culture has a unique perspective on mental health. Mental health issues have become more stigmatized, and many people regard them as a weakness or something to be ashamed of. This can make it more difficult for those who are struggling to open up and ask for support.
Another thing is understanding the symptoms. People's descriptions and feelings regarding their illnesses can be influenced by culture. It can influence whether a person recognizes and discusses simply physical symptoms, only emotional symptoms, or both.
Community support. When it comes to mental health, cultural differences might influence how much assistance someone receives from their family and community. Minorities are sometimes left to acquire mental health therapy and support on their own due to existing stigma.
Resources. You want to speak with someone who understands your personal experiences and concerns when seeking mental health care. Finding tools and treatment alternatives that take into account individual cultural aspects and demands might be difficult or time consuming at times.
How can we help destigmatize mental health while keeping all of this in mind?
As a community, we should all talk about mental health and face the truth about it, as it has become a norm.
We should also educate ourselves and others about what mental health means. And the more we know, the less scary it is.
We should all be connecting with others, as we should choose empowerment over shame.
We should also start small by talking with loved ones, such as our parents and other family members, and to always be open about our feelings.
Support people, treat everyone with dignity and respect, offering support and encouragement.
We should also listen and share. When we take the step to actually share what we've been going through, we also help destigmatize mental health. That's all for our presentation, and this is all of our work cited.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.